All right, guys, testing this out for the first time here. We're going to about to go live on uh, Instagram. So we should be good to go here. Let's see here. Testing. All right. So it looks like we're live on Instagram. So let's go ahead and I wonder if we can move this over. We'll just leave it this way. All right. So guys, I'm learning how to do s- StreamYard here. This is the first time doing this. And I'm wanting to do some content, wanting to do some basically I've got some reaction videos that I'm supposed to be filming and shooting. So we're going to take a look at this. Today's Motivational Monday. One of the things that I wanted to do was to talk about objection handling. You know, I was listening to a conference call where they were going over the call record, or they were going over the objection handling of how to overcome the objection of there's a cheaper, this other competitor has a cheaper bid. And they did pretty good. There was a couple of things that I really liked about it. One of the first things that he said was, okay, if the money was the same, who would you rather do the job? And then, usually a customer is going to tell you, well, of course, I would want you to. And most salespeople get happy ears. I do this little thing for happy ears, where basically the customer's telling you what they know you want to hear. And so they're just trying to be nice to you and just tell you what you want to hear. But he took it a step further and tied them down. And he goes, well, why is that though? And that was great. I loved how he said that. But then he went on to say, he basically went into kind of old school, what I would call old school sales tactics, where telling isn't selling, is what I tell my customers. This is what I with my clients. It's all about asking questions. So what I like to do is take a little bit of what they offered and a little bit of like some of the newer style of selling, like Jeremy Miner's NEPQ, or my mentor, current mentor, Josh Lyons, where he does scriptless selling. And that's how I coach my clients to get the best results and getting results that they're getting. I've got a guy that when he first started with me, he was making 15 to 20 grand a month. And in November, he made $35,000. I've got another guy that when he started with my coaching program, I was only $3,000 at the time. And literally in the first week, he made $10,000 in commissions from learning how to overcome a simple objection like, I need to get 3 bids. And he was losing deals like that. Or if he was selling them, he was having to sell them at cost. He ended up making $10,000 in this first week. And he ended up making the biggest sale of his career shortly after he joined our coaching program. And I realized, okay, if people are making $10,000 in a week and they've never done that before and they're making the biggest sales of their life, I have to charge more than just $3,000. So for all you people that think, wow, $3,000, that's a lot of money. Well, it's more expensive now. So you can thank him. All right. He was one of the top reps in the Milwaukee office, just to give you a little hint. So with that being said, what I want to do is I want to play around with this and share some content with you. And I might need to figure out how to do screen sharing and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and we'll do this later. So let's just go to back to Chrome, because that's what all of this is on. And let's go to YouTube. And I'm going to show you one of my friends, Jeremy Miner, and how he does the lower price objection. So by the way, if you haven't followed Jeremy Miner, he's the founder and CEO. Well, I guess he's not a CEO. He's a chairman of Seventh Level Communications. And he created something which he's trademarked as NEPQ, which stands for Neuro Emotional Persuasion Questions. And if you go to Jeremy Miner and then you type in any objection, let's just say in this example, there's a lower bid, right? Somebody else gave me a lower bid. let's just kind of see how he handles this, because I like to break these down, these review videos, and then try to offer like a comparison to what I would do, or make it more industry specific, so it's not just generic, for what I did with leaf filter as an example. So now I'm going to go to StreamYard and see if we can do a screen share. Spotlight, group layout, screen layout, picture-in-picture news layout. Let's just see something here. Solo layout, that's what I think we're on. Cropped layout, group layout, spotlight layout, news layout, screen layout. That's what I think I want. Picture-in-picture, maybe. All right, let's just see what happens here. I don't know if this is going to work, guys. You know, if I was doing this on Zoom, I could just go ahead and do a screen share, but that's a little bit different, isn't it? Let's go to present. Let's see what this is. Slides, PDF, extra camera, video file, share screen. Let's do this. All right. Sharing is easiest with 2 monitors. Works best on a good computer. All right, let's just see what happens here. I'm going to open the system settings. We're going to go Google Chrome. We're going to allow that. This is my first time doing this, guys. So give me a minute. May not be able to record the contents. Okay, until the screen is quit. Let's see what happens here. To my stage. All right. Looks like we're back here. Again, apologies. This is why we're playing with this before we actually go live for once. So we're going to go back to the screen layout. Let's see here. Let's do picture-in-picture. I don't know. Let's do screen. Let's do present, share screen. Okay, we're going to go to Jeremy Miner. All right. So you can see this, what I'm looking at. Also share tab audio. Let's see how this works. All right. So I'm going to show this video. Let's go through it here real quick.
So how do you close a sale when one of your competitors undercuts you? Let's say that you gave the prospect a proposal with different quotes in it, and they're also getting different quotes and bids from some of your competition. And they say something like this to you. They say, first of all, go down to the bottom of this video, hit the subscribe button. That's probably important for the company gave us a quote that's cheaper than yours. Can you give us a better price? Now,
all right. So have you ever heard that objection before? Another company gave me a bid that was lower than yours. Raise your hand or give me some likes or give me some comments or something like that if you've ever gotten that objection before. I know I have.
Now, instead of just giving them a better price where they commoditize you now, and now they're going to go back and forth and negotiate you down, you want to get the prospect thinking results-based thinking rather than price or cost-based thinking. So
this is a key thing. This one concept. I remember the second time I joined Jeremy Miner's inner circle, I had him I had one-on-one access to him through Voxer. And I remember going over this and this one concept of getting your prospects to switch their thinking from price-based thinking to results-based thinking was probably one of the biggest reason why I took a quantum leap in my income. And so this is really good. We'll go over this here in a minute.
Here's how you do it. I'm going to give you a generic example of how to start that conversation. And then at the end, I'm going to show you how it works in like an industry specific example so you can see the framework that we're using. Hey,
ironically enough, the industry he's going to use is home improvement. He uses windows specifically, but we'll talk about gutters because I know a lot of people follow me that are in gutters. But just going to be announcing next week that we are going to be opening up to the entire home improvement industry space because I have experience selling windows for companies like Renewal by Andersen. I've sold walk-in bathtubs with Safe Step Home Improvements, sold water systems with Eco Water. And I know Leaf Filter sells a bunch of these, or Leaf Home, if they want to call themselves that. They sell those products. I've sold solar. A lot of these things are all one-call close systems that are all the same. We'll go back to the video here, though.
can you give me a cheaper price? Like company XYZ gave us a lower bid or a lower cost or a lower proposal.
So let's say you're a Leaf Filter rep and your average sale price is around, let's say, $5,000 roughly. And then you got some local guy, a chuck and a truck company. I like how Chris said Dan with a van, right? Larry with a ladder. There's a lot of different funny names for these local home improvement, mom and pop type of shops doing this type of work. But basically, let's say they're coming in at half of your price.
First of all, you want to find out what that quote actually is and what it's actually for. So
this is the key step that I think that Chris missed, because what happens is he went into this thing where he goes, okay, so let's just assume that it's the same price. Who would you rather do business with, right? Instead, what Jeremy is about to say here is critical, and I want you to pay attention to this. Again, telling isn't selling. The way that we sell is by asking questions. You know better than this. So let's go ahead and ask questions so we can get the truth.
So you do it like this. Yeah, not a problem. Can I ask what quote they gave you and for what specifically? Now, why?
Now, there's a couple things here. Let's say it was for gutters, right? Well, what if that other gutter company wasn't offering the 0.32 thickness gauge or whatever? Let's just say what if it wasn't even seamless gutters? I've gone out to people's homes where they got brand new gutters and they weren't even seamless gutters. They were just the 10-foot aluminum cheap stuff that you get at Lowe's.
Why do you want to ask that question? Because you have to realize a lot of your prospects just lie to you.
Yeah, that's another big deal right there.
Might not have even met with one of your competitors. They might be just saying that to try to get you to come down on your price. So you have to understand that. If they can't show you the quote or the proposal, then you know that's probably what they're doing. Now,
so you're trying to compare apples to oranges or apples to apples as best as possible. A lot of customers, when you ask them this one simple question about trying to figure out specifically or exactly or precisely what exactly are we comparing apples to apples to? Oh, it was 2,500. Oh, was that for gutter and gutter protection? Yeah. Okay. What kind of gutter protection was it? I don't know. They don't even know because the company didn't even show it to them or give them a demonstration. And then you can show them other products. And instead of just being like what Chris did, was just kind of telling them, about this other product and about how they were 7th highest rated from Consumer Reports and all that stuff, you show them the other gutter screens. And here's what I used to do. Especially the one with like the little crisscross mesh, I forget what it's called. It's like chicken wire or whatever. I asked the customer, I go, now, if it was that, I would say, now let me ask you this. Do you feel like this would keep all of the leaves and debris from getting into your gutter and clogging it? And usually what customers would say is they go, well, no. And then I would, just like Chris did, which I really liked about what he did, was I go, well, hold on. Why do you say that though? And they say, well, because the holes are too big or whatever. Right, exactly. About 25% of the time when I go out to people's homes, they already have this out, or they already have this installed on their home. If this product worked, why do you think that they would be calling Leaf Filter to come out and give them a quote for gutter screens when they clearly already have gutter screens? Right. And sometimes I would show them videos of that type of gutter screen getting clogged. But again, if you're able to ask the question of the customer, what exactly is the quote for? Okay, it's seamless gutter. For how much was the footage? How many downspouts? What size? What thickness? If you ask them all these questions and they don't know the answers, then what we'll talk about later will hit home even better. But before you can ask those questions, you have to collect the whole picture and the data. And a lot of times you'll ask them, who'd you get a quote from, or what was the quote for? And you'll catch them in a lie. And sometimes they'll react defensively. And that's kind of when you know you got them as well. And they know you got them as well.
So let me go through this again. Yeah, that's not a problem. Can I ask what quote they gave you and for what specifically, just so I have a better understanding? Well, yeah, they said it's going to be this for A, B, C, or for D, F, and G.
By the way, what I also want you to pay close attention to, and this is what I coach my clients on, is you can watch videos like this from Jeremy Miner or any type of sales coach or trainer, but you don't know exactly what to look for. So I don't want you to just look at the letters that are on the whiteboard here. I want you to really pay attention to his tonality, his vocal qualities. I want you to listen to how loud or soft his voice is. I want you to listen to the pauses or how slow he might enunciate certain words. This is called pacing. And a lot of sales companies, and like if you're a Leaf Filter rep, a lot of ops managers don't train on this stuff because frankly, they don't know it. They weren't in the top 10 in income in the company. They just had really good results using the system and they got promoted when there was an opportunity to. A lot of times they weren't even the number one sales rep in their office. And yet here they are teaching you how to become the number one sales rep in your office. Would you take fitness advice from a fat personal trainer? Why would you take sales training advice if it wasn't from one of the top sales reps in the company? And a lot of times these ops managers might have really good stats, like, 71% slugging percentage, but they were selling jobs at cost. And you had a $2,400 net volume per issue, but your slug was really great. Oh, good for you. How much money was deposited into your bank account? You ever ask your ops manager that?
Okay. Can you go through the proposal with me specifically, just so I understand? Because, maybe you're better off going with them.
I love this line right here. You're removing the emotional attachment and the neediness from having to make the sale. And you're saying, hey, because you might be better off with going with them. You're acting like you're an impartial, consultant for them. I love that line. Use that line. Chris didn't teach you that one.
That disarms a prospect where they're open to going through what that company proposed to them, so you know exactly what you're dealing with. That way you're not guessing, throwing mud against the wall, hoping and praying that something you're going to say is going to stick with them and they're going to buy. Okay? Now, here's where we start to get them thinking results.
By the way, I don't know if you heard that because I switched tabs. I want to just backtrack that just a little bit here.
Throwing mud against the wall, hoping and praying that somebody proposed to them, so you know exactly what you're dealing with. That way you're not guessing, throwing mud against the wall, hoping and praying that something you're going to say is going to stick with them and they're going to buy. Okay.
That's what a lot of salespeople do when they're selling, is they don't know what they need to say in order to convince the homeowner or prospect to buy. So they're just talking, hoping that something they say resonates with the client. And the more you talk, the more the prospect starts to tune out. So if you just ask the prospect the question, they'll give you the answers you need to be able to sell them.
Okay. Now, here's where we start to get them thinking results-based thinking. I'm going to move this up here for you. Okay. Yeah, they gave us, XYZ cost for A, B, and C. And you find out specifically what the cost is and what it was for. Then you say this, well, it really just depends on what type of result that you actually want.
Look at his facial expressions, guys. This is another thing. Why is the facial expression important? I love what Jeremy says when he says your tone, your body language and like your facial expressions is like the remote control for the quality of your voice, the pitch, the pace, all of those things. So pay close attention to that. Plus, you're just not going to look or sound as scripted as you currently are right now.
I mean, is price the most important thing to you?
Is price the most important thing to you? Notice you're like asking like it's a skeptical tonality is what he teaches here.
Or solving the problem?
Or is solving the problem. Notice how his voice goes down. Is price the most important thing to you? Or is solving the problem and getting the result you want more important? That when you're talking with an upward inflection, it implies uncertainty. And when you talk with a downward inflection, it implies certainty and confidence. And you know, as well as I do, that that's what people buy is your confidence and your certainty. Let's continue.
And actually getting the result you want. Now, what did I just do there? When I said, now is price the most important thing to you or actually solving the problem and getting the result you want? Is price the most important thing to you? Look at my hands. Is price the most important thing to you or actually solving the problem and getting the result you want?
That's what he's doing with his hands there is he's creating a visual gap, but he's also controlling his voice. Notice when I said gap, it's because my voice was going up, right? So he's doing this to be able to help him control his voice as well. But he's also creating a visual difference between where they're currently at versus where they actually really want to be at. For example, you might be closing at $2,400 net volume per issue with like a 55% slug, but you're only making, you're selling a lot of jobs at cost and you're not making but maybe 10 or 12% commission versus 24% commission, right? If you looked at my jobs, I sold a lot of 24% commission jobs. Notice that gap there. Oh man, I'm at 10% and he was at 24%. I wonder how I would get that result.
See how I'm using my hands? Price-based thinking, results-based thinking. That question flips their mind.
So when I talk to people about sales training, they're like, oh my God, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, 25,000, whatever I'm charging, which I've charged all of those prices to people, by the way. Oh my God, that's a lot of money. Well, yeah, if you're only making 10% commissions, but if you're making 24% commissions and you're on the closers list every single week, instead of making, I don't know, 1,500, 2,500, 3,500, if you're making 5 and 10,000 and upwards of $20,000 in a week, like I did when I was a rep at Leaf Filter, now all of a sudden, oh, you mean I could make my money back in a week or two? Sign me up.
Where they start thinking about the result, the end result, not the price. You don't want your prospect thinking of the price because then you're going to get commoditized with everybody else and compete on price. You want to.
That's why you're getting people to tell you, oh, I had XYZ company offer this at a lower price than you.
Be able to get them thinking results-based thinking because every salesperson in your industry doesn't know how to do that like I'm showing you how to do it, all right? Now, they're going to say, well, yeah, I want the result, but if we can, they might say, yeah, I mean, definitely the result's more important, or they're going to say.
That's what they say, but do they really mean that? And you have to challenge them on that.
Say, well, I mean, we definitely want the result, but, price is important too. Or they might say, we definitely want the result, but, if we can get a better price, that would be good. Then you can say.
Everybody wants a better price.
If they say that, you're going to go here. I'm going to show you this. Can I, yeah, that's not a problem. Can I make a suggestion to you?
Notice how you ask for permission before you give that suggestion. And notice his tonality. Yeah, that's not a problem. Can I give you, I forget exactly what he said here, but can I make a suggestion?
This is after you've seen the quote and the proposal, you know what it is. What they quoted you is for X, Y, and Z, which actually only does A, B, and C. Now
So they quoted you for this gutter screen, which does a fairly decent job of keeping the leaves and debris out, but the holes are, like we mentioned earlier, the holes don't really keep all of the leaves and debris out, and like the sticks and the stems and the pine needles and the sand grit, the shingle grit and all that stuff still gets through there, and it ends up getting clogged, about 3 or 4 years later typically.
being generic for a reason. You have to plug in that gap. Now we could give you that exact same quote for that.
So now at Leaf Filter, you couldn't really say this. If you were a gutter company, you could say, we could go ahead and give you a quote for the same type of material, but
like I said, it just depends on the end result that you want. So let me go over that again.
Again, you're getting them focused back on results-based thinking, not price-based thinking. You could probably do this with Leaf Filter. In fact, I've heard ops managers, or I think even Chris possibly, don't quote me on that, say things like, well, yeah, we could do that for you, but, and then the customer's like, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I want that. Like Leaf Relief or something. We don't install at Leaf Filter. You don't install anything but Leaf Filter, obviously.
What they quoted you was for XYZ, which only does A, B, and C. So now you're getting them to think like, oh, maybe the company that gave me a cheaper quote is not going to give me the result that I really want. See, that seeds doubt in their mind.
Another thing I used to ask a customer when I got them to realize that this product isn't going to get me the result I want, I go, now imagine if you were to invest in this product because because the price looked better. And let's say it was $2,500, right? Versus $5K. And let's say 3 or 4 or 5 years later, it got clogged. When that happens, looking back on the decision that you made to go with that product because it was 2,500, how would you feel about that decision? Notice how I said, what would you think? I didn't say, what would you think about this? I said, how would you feel? And notice the pauses in the tonality and how I asked that question. 9 times out of 10, the prospector or the homeowner would say something like, oh yeah, I feel like it's a waste of money. Exactly. And then I would say, so, when I always say like, so when it comes time to make a decision, I mean, I'm a buyer, I'm a consumer just like you are. And every day I buy things, whether it's a big thing or a small thing, but every time I come down to making a decision if I want to buy or not, especially if it's a big purchase or an important purchase, like for my home, my car, or something that's important to me, I always have to ask myself, like, and I do this like balancing scale thing, like, what's more important to me? Is it more important that I save the money or spend the amount of money that I wanted to spend, or like it's in my budget or something? Or is it more important that I actually like get the result I want? And I always do this little thing. There's something in NLP where they talk about the dominant hand is the right answer. So you want to put the right answer. So it weighs more heavily to go this way rather than this way. This thing is like, that's not how I want to do it. This is the result I want to get. We'll talk about this later.
Then you agree. Now, hey, we could give you the exact same quote for that too. But like I said, it just depends on the type of result that you want. Now, what does that get them thinking again? Results-based thinking rather than price-based thinking.
Let's say somebody wanted to purchase sales coaching from me, and it's like I offer, let's say one-on-one coaching, and I do group coaching. And let's just say somebody says, well, I can't afford the one-on-one coaching. How much is the group coaching or something? And I'll say, yeah, I mean, I could definitely, if you could use this quote here, it's like, well, we could definitely put you in the group coaching, but the problem is if you don't already know the Leaf Filter system and how we do things, you would just be going to the daily meetings and you would be kind of like feeling lost in, what everybody else is talking about. in order to really get the best benefit from the group training, you really need to go through the one-on-one training so I can actually teach you what a pre-close is, what a closing sequence is, what objection handling is, what LARC means, and all that stuff. Otherwise, you'll just be sitting here and you'll just be like kind of picking things up on the fly, but you're not really going to get the full like bang for your buck, if that makes sense. Or if somebody says, well, instead of coaching, do you just have like courses? Do you just have a course I could buy? And I could say, I mean, yeah, I could just send you videos and stuff to watch, but it's do you feel like you learn best from watching, or do you feel like you learn best from actually like doing the thing? Because everybody's different. Some people are visual learners, some people are auditory learners, and some people are kinesthetic learners. So, like, do you feel best by just listening to something versus seeing a visual of it on screen? Do you learn best from like seeing and listening to something on screen? Or do you learn best from actually like practicing and drilling and rehearsing? Well, you're not really going to get that if you're just watching a video course.
Now, I'm going to give you an industry-specific example just so you can see what happens at this point. Let's say that you sold home improvement.
So I'm just going to go ahead and stop this video here, the screen share here. Hopefully this came through on the StreamYard deal. Let's see, we're going to stop screen share. So I don't know who's actually watching this right now. I know Instagram's not working anymore. It looks like I have 2 viewers on Facebook, and I would have to enter in the new stream code and all that stuff for StreamYard, but I had to log out and get off of Safari on my Mac and go on to Google Chrome. So this was uploaded to YouTube, guys. If you got some value out of this, please feel free to hit like or comment or send me a DM. And if you want to get more coaching like this, feel free to reach out to me and we'll have a quick conversation just to see if you're even a fit. And if there's alignment, then what I can do is I can send you the link so you can book an actual discovery call where we can really have a deep dive conversation about, again, the hand controls right here, where you're at versus like where you actually want to be in your sales and in your business and your income. Have a good day.